I just got a new computer and realized last second that I haven't downloaded Zoom to it. So I had to break out my phone to do it, but it all works. Well, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm on the tail end of a tummy bug and I am not feeling my 100% yet. So I apologize for my energy being a little low. I'm still dragging my wagon.
I'm going to use that. That's awesome.
I'm also going to apologize a little bit because I realized that I selected the longest article in the whole magazine. I thought that I read like the first 2 pages of it and I thought that it was really intriguing. And then I really started digging into it and it's a lot to chew. It's good, but it was not lighthearted reading, I think. Did you get a chance to read through it?
Yeah, it's a good article. Very.
So I picked the article Navigating Our Experiences by Michael Brown. And one of the very first things that I found interesting is his use of words. And the whole word navigating implies that it's an action verb. But the whole article itself is more about stepping out of the way and setting intentions for life experiences to happen. So I kind of thought that that was a little bit interesting right off the bat. Navigating sounds like you really need to do a lot of work to navigate to get where you're trying to go, and that it almost sounds like it would be stressful. I don't know if you riding in the car with your husband, if you are ever the navigator, but it's not a very feel-good job a lot of times. And this sets the intention to make all life experiences a little bit easier or a little bit more intentional, I guess. This Michael Brown has written a book called The Presence Process, and it looks like he also does some business coaching, well, life coaching, I guess would be a better term, for some other CEOs. And a lot of what he said resonates in a lot of other areas. There is a book called yourCIRCLE about praying circles around things that you want or what your heart's desires are. And I think that that speaks a lot to this magazine article. And the power of positive thinking also kind of resonates, but this comes at it from a completely different, deeper brain perspective. And it basically says that in life, in order to navigate through our experiences, it first starts as an emotion, and then it becomes an awareness of the emotion, and then it manifests in physical. And he talks about this happening in early childhood, well, in our childhood, in a 7-year cycle. And we've all heard 7 years, 7-year itch in marriages and businesses and everything else. So I thought that it was the 7-year kind of spoke to me also. And what he says is that when we are born emotional creatures. And everything that a brand new baby does is based off of primitive instincts and emotion, that really primitive part of our brain. And through that first 7 years, we are governed by mostly emotion. And then at the age of 7 years old, we become more conscious or aware. We become learners. We start to learn new things in school. It's where our writing and our reading and a lot of our basic education is formed in that second 7-year cycle. And then the third 7-year cycle takes us through a maturing physical body, the teenage body that carries us into adulthood. And he says that in general, all life experiences move through those same 3 steps: the emotional, the awareness, and then the physical aspect of it. So what he basically says is, instead of struggling and trying to force a square peg into a round hole, to set the intention or the intended feeling of completing a task. How do you want to feel when that task is done? And you set that before you ever go into that situation. And it doesn't automatically erase some of the anxieties that can come up with a stressful situation, but it's almost a way to kind of reprogram that primitive kind of reptilian brain that we have when we encounter situations that may be unpleasant. There's a lot of work that people do with different types of counseling, like EMDR, and that's to retrain those basic reptilian instinct to react to a stressful situation the same way every time. This is kind of the same concept, just going about it in a little bit of a different way. Did you guys have any thoughts or additions to that so far? Anything struck you?
I have one interesting point I wanted to bring up too that I just think is super cool as a total sidebar here.
Yeah.
The way that the female brain specifically remembers is always based around emotion.
Yeah.
I say female brain loosely, but it's a white matter dominant brain, and how our white matter takes information in. It's always about emotion, so that we put meaning to things. Sometimes we shouldn't, but we put meaning to things, and that's how we remember. We remember who our mama is, and we remember who loves us and who's going to feed us, and we go through this life based off of our emotions. And I just thought that was a really neat thing. Now, a gray matter dominant person is off of movement, but that's another sidebar. But I wanted to share that because I know the women on this call, and I know each one of us has that, where we remember based on our emotions.
Wouldn't the movement portion, the gray matter dominant one, be that third stage, that physical body?
Okay.
And the awareness part, the thought part, is somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
I talking about going through those stages of experiences, I don't know how many times you get an uneasy feeling that you haven't even brought to the surface yet. And it takes me a minute to even realize that I'm feeling uncomfortable. Like, the emotion for me really does come first a lot of times. And then I become consciously aware that I am at dis-ease. And then the physical changes. That's when, the thought process happens and I feel like I have to make a decision. And then the physical part happens. But yeah, for me, it always starts with emotion or a feeling. It may take me a minute to realize that I'm feeling something, but that's where it always starts. So he basically says that we can change the way that we navigate our experiences. And it doesn't happen overnight. And it's with anything in life, repetition leads to an easier pathway to get there. Or I always say that when you are learning new pathways in the brain, it's kind of like cutting a new path through the forest. The first time you do it, it is really tangled and gnarled and uncomfortable, and you're sweating and you're out of breath. And the more and more you use that same path, the wider the path becomes and the easier it is to navigate. And it becomes much more enjoyable because you already know that road. I think with anything, whether it be something that we're learning physically or mentally, the more often we repeat the same thing, the more ingrained into our brain it becomes. And then, towards the end, he goes through a checklist of things that you can do in your daily lives that can help solidify this changing of the way that you think about experiences. He uses a CEO that he counseled, that he did some coaching with, as an example on how this CEO was very type A, very felt the need to control every situation, and really had a strong dislike for team building meetings with his staff. And he was on the verge of burnout. And the very first thing that he had him do is to imagine what he would like to feel like leaving that boardroom after the meeting. What is the feeling that you would like to manifest or that you hope to accomplish from this meeting? And you start with that and almost work backwards, because if the reward is greater than the discomfort that it takes in the middle to get there, then it's worth it every time. So by setting intention, you have already visualized the what you want to happen in the end, and eventually that will make the middle part more easily navigable. So navigation checklist. We determine exactly how we would like to feel at the outcome of the experience we are navigating. We must be able to feel this feeling now. In navigating my flight from New York to South Africa, I consciously chose, oh gosh, I don't even have my glasses on either. Sorry guys, I'm on the struggle bus today. I consciously chose to feel refreshed, relaxed, and grateful for an enjoyable experience. To assist me bring these feelings into the now, I remember the last time I experienced these feelings and consciously brought a recollection of them into this moment. We then place our attention upon the envisaged moment by clearly seeing ourselves at the point of the outcome. We overlay this image with the feeling by feeling it now as we see ourselves within the outcome.
Can anyone hear me?
All right.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay? Can you hear me?
All right.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. There's a Zoom update that happened, and my Zoom does all sorts of interesting things now. I don't know about you guys, but this is one of them. When people join, it logs me out. So anyway, welcome.
Yeah, it looks like we've had a few people join.
Yeah.
Welcome to the group. So everybody
Hi.
want to maybe introduce themselves? Say how
Sure.
you out about our circle.
I will introduce myself. My name is Katie Donovan Gooch. I got married last month, and so my name has changed. And I know everybody here. I know Misty, and I know Bree, and I know the rest of you staff ladies and such. Hi, I'm glad you guys are here.
Dr. Katie, I don't know if I've ever told you, but my husband calls kisses gooches. And so the word
Oh,
gooch
how
to me
appropriate.
means love.
I
He'll
love
say,
it.
give me a gooch.
Oh, perfect.
There
I'm
you
going to update my name in here to say Gooch because I want to.
go. Well, I'm Dr. Amy Labrie. I work at Lohr Health Center, and I am a chiropractor, and I specialize in perinatal and pediatrics. And I have known Dr. Katie and Dr. Nicole for years.
Hi, I'm Alexis, and I'm the office manager for Dr. McCauley at Breath of Life. And I have a little girl that just turned 10. So very exciting times.
Miss Norris, so stinking cute, but I'm sure you all can imagine. I'm Dr. Nicole McCauley. I also know all of you, and I am a pediatric and perinatal diplomate and expert here at Breath of Life. And I'm just so honored to be a part of these amazing meetings where we get to connect and to see each other, because so often, I mean, I don't have children of my own, and I know Dr. Amy and Dr. Katie do not as well, but it's on our hearts so much to offer those of you who do a place where you can connect and you can feel like, you know what, you're not alone. You have opportunities, you have people, you have a community. So that is our goal. And I just wanted to say thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Bree.
Hi, Bree.
I know Dr. Katie really well. She's such a good friend, and she actually got to be there when my sweet little Miss Maisie was born. She was born on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, it's excited to talk to people, and I might be a little sleep deprived, so don't hold it against me.
Is she your only child?
No, I have a 2-year-old son as well.
Okay. So you really are a busy sleep deprived mama.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Bring on.
Also, I just feel like I should say Bree is a stinking beast. She did an incredible job on Saturday, and I was honored to get to be a part of it.
I've gotten to be there for a few births, and I don't think that I have ever appreciated a woman's power more than in those moments. I mean, it is awe-inspiring and absolutely amazing that we are made to do that. So congrats, Mama, for your hard work.
I'm Misty, and I have Allie here with me. We're patient Dr. Nicole. Allie, Nicole was talking. I don't know if anyone noticed. She recognized her voice and was like, "What?" So that's why.
Hi, Allie.
But I actually have not had any biological kids. My kids are adopted, and so they get delivered to my door. And this delivered years ago in March. And so she's seen Dr. Katie, I've seen Dr. Katie too, but with Allie's complexities and everything going on, we mainly see Dr. Nicole. She's not real fond of, she's not real fond of change. So, and I ventured into the life of epilepsy 3 years ago. So it's been a hard journey. She had a seizure yesterday, so we're taking it easy today on the rainy day.
Well, I hope that we can support you. I know that that's a lot to handle. And if you ever need anything, Dr. Katie is a fantastic human and a great resource, but reach out to any of us if you ever need anything.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Misty, is this your first meeting with us?
Yes, it is.
We are so happy you're here. And
Welcome.
I know Bree has been here before with us too, and of course Alexis. And just to put it out there for you, because you have missed this in the past, that we are a completely inclusive group for mamas and caregivers of any kind. It could be daddies too. And so grandparents, you name it, people who have biological children, people who have babies that are born from their hearts, you name it, we are here for that. And as I mentioned before, our goal is to connect you with other people that might be dealing with the same things that you're dealing with. So you know you're not alone. So we're really glad you're here. And the way that we typically run our meetings is that we have this article, this wonderful article, as Dr. Amy mentioned and went through, and then we discuss it. It's just open discussion. Instead of us always lecturing, going on and on, this is truly your circle. So if you have questions, if you have things you want to talk about regarding this or something different, that's what this is for. So I just want to make sure I've mentioned that to you as we go, and I'll go back on mute.
I'm just going to recap a little bit. I chose the article out of this episode or this journal of pathways. And when I picked it, I was intrigued by the first couple of pages and the title to the article, which is Navigating Our Experiences. And then I realized as I dug into it that it is the longest article in the magazine, and that it wasn't just light reading. I feel like there was a lot to chew on with this. And it has a lot to do with the way that we almost pre-think about situations in our life. And the author is teaching us to have intention about the situation and the outcome of the situation before you ever go into it. So in a way, to simplify it, it was a little bit about the power of positive thinking, but more on he digs into it in a deeper brain, kind of our primitive part of our brain and the way that we deal with experiences. And sometimes when we have negative connotations about a situation that's coming up, whether it be a family dinner, and in the past you have had family dinners that were painful, or people argued, or it was just very uncomfortable, then going back into a family dinner, whether it be with the same family or not, can seem overwhelming. And he's given us some framework or kind of a checklist to go through. And he basically says that as you go through life experiences, the way that you navigate those life experiences, whether you're aware of it or not, is that you first feel the emotion. And the emotion is the very first thing that happens. It guides the entire experience. And then we consciously become aware of it, and the thought part happens, the processing part. And the third thing that happens is we turn that into physical. So that is the action part of it. So first emotion, then the thought, and then the physical. And I was saying that I think that for me, and I always feel the emotion first, and it may take me a little bit to realize that something has actually made me cranky, or that I was instantly filled with joy. That second part, that realization part, is the thought part of it, and then it turns into physical. So what he's saying is, going into any situation, if you set the emotion of the outcome first, then you can help guide or navigate your experiences in life. And so he gives us a checklist, and I had gone through probably the first three, and I'm going to go ahead and go through those and just read out the bolded portion of it. And then I want to read through some of the bulk of those paragraphs in the other ones that we hadn't talked about yet. So the first one is, we determine exactly how we would like to feel at the outcome of the experience we are navigating. We must be able to feel this feeling now. So basically, what do you want it to feel like at the end of this process, at the end of this family dinner? How do you want to feel when you walk away from it? And you set that before you ever go into that family dinner. We then place our attention upon the envisaged moment by clearly seeing ourselves at the point of the outcome. We overlay this image with this feeling by feeling it now as we see ourselves within this outcome. We ensure that we are acquainted with all of the information required for achieving mental clarity. So he talks about planning out his event. He uses the example of getting on an airplane. That can be a stressful situation, travel, but he plans it all out ahead of time. He knows when his flights are leaving. He's arranged his transportation. He knows where his layovers are. He has pre-checked where his gate is. So he is prepared for that situation. If you were going into a stressful family dinner, then you would research the restaurant and you would know what time dinner started. And you know, if you can control some of the variables or know about the variables ahead of time, then it may not shake you if anything doesn't go exactly to plan. We ensure we are physically prepared and have all of the physical circumstances in place required by the experience we are entering. I make sure that I'm packed and that my luggage is within the allotted weight. I ensure that I have a meal before boarding. I also make sure that I have my homeopathic jet lag tabs, a good book, and a carry-on cushion to enable a comfortable nap. So the next step is, as we approach the experience, we may feel moments of anxiety arise triggered by past memories. We allow ourselves to feel this anxiety for a few moments, and then we repeat step 2, which is clearly seeing ourselves at the point of outcome. So one of the points that he makes in the bulk of the article is that so many times when something feels uncomfortable, we look for coping mechanisms to dull that discomfort feeling. If I'm feeling anxiety about something, then I may eat my emotions. I am a junk TV junkie. And if I am feeling anxiety about something, then I will bury myself in trashy TV shows. And all of that doesn't help us approach the situation any better. It doesn't prepare us for that situation. And it does nothing to reprogram the deeper emotional ramifications of the situation coming up. So we have to re-envision the outcome. What do I want to feel at the end of this situation? As we approach the moment of entry into the navigated experience, we place our full attention upon what we are feeling, especially if it's uncomfortable. This pre-experience feeling is designed to ground us into the heart of the experience. As I'm preparing to board the plane, I check in with seated next to someone I would not normally appreciate being next to for 18 hours, I do not fight it. No matter what discomfort arises, I will sit consciously within it, trusting that this is the universe's method of facilitating my intent. When circumstances become unfamiliar, even tense, we do not attempt to sedate and control them or to steer them in any other way. Sedating and controlling is like our unhealthy coping mechanism. Sedating, for me, would be trashy TV shows, or I know that I would feel better if I had that chocolate chip cookie. That's a sedation or a distraction. And what he says is that we actually need to become centered in that discomfort feeling, but still envisioning the feeling that we want at the end. Throughout the duration of the experience, we place our attention on the felt content of the experience. This is the energetic current that carries us to our intended felt outcomes. Throughout the flight, I consistently consistently ask myself, how am I feeling? Not as a means to feel a certain way, but purely as a means to consciously acknowledge what is unfolding in my heart in any given moment. This procedure may be used for navigating any and all experience. The more we apply it, the more confident we become in our ability to facilitate a favorable felt outcome. Remember, we can ask for any feeling we want, and we can have this as long as we enter a co-creative relationship with the universe, as long as we surrender to the experience once we enter it. So after reading this entire article, I have decided that I do want to read his book. And the book that goes into this navigating the experience is, the title of the book is The Presence Process. And so I do think that I definitely could benefit from it. I don't know. My family tends to call me a bulldog. If I want something to happen, then I'm like a dog with a bone. I just won't let it go until I have manipulated a way to make that happen. And this is about letting go of all of the intermediate stuff and setting the intention before you even go into the process. So I definitely feel like I could benefit by reading more deeply into his works. I guess, Dr. Nicole brought up that as women, we do tend to go through experiences in different ways than men do. Women are emotionally charged, and so most of the decisions that we make have some sort of emotion tied to them. And being able to recognize that emotion is the thought process, and then to physically manifest that is the action part, or the physical body. So I think that also is an interesting tie here to this article. Does anybody have any thoughts on the way that they have successfully or unsuccessfully navigated maybe some tense or some experiences that have brought up anxiety?
I'll volunteer my challenges.
Okay.
And then I'll go to my successes, you bet, because I am so human too. And I'll tell you, one of my things is I will numb out whatever's going on. I get decision fatigue, and I can only imagine that caregivers get that tenfold, because not only are you making decisions for yourself and everything that you have to do, but you're making decisions for your little ones too, and those that you're in charge of. So when I get decision fatigue, I just make poor choices. It's whatever I need to do to not feel what I'm feeling, especially with anxiety. And the unfortunate part is, one of those things is sugar. I have an addiction to sugar, so I have to be very careful with that, because when I have sugar, I actually get more anxious. So it's a really frustrating circle that I have created, and I'm working to not have anymore. And so some of my successes I have come from doing the work, very similar to the article that we're reading, and focusing on that outcome. This was an interesting point someone had made to me. If I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant, all you can think about is a pink elephant, right? You just can't help yourself. Your brain doesn't understand don't in that context, excuse me. So we think positively. If we can think in a positive route, like think of a yellow giraffe, right? You're not even going to have pink elephants come into your mind, because all we're doing is thinking about yellow giraffes. So really focusing on that outcome, and how do I get to that outcome? I change my physiology, change what I'm doing. I might get up. We have dance parties here at the office. So I might get up, move around a little bit, change the music. I remember what position I need to put my body in if I want to be successful. How do I stand? How do I put my shoulders? Where do I go with that? What's the language that somebody would use that's on the other side of this? And my brain starts to shift into that. So that's my success, but it has to be super intentional, because otherwise choice number one is where can I get sugar? And it's a tough road. So that's my challenges and successes.
You mentioned decision fatigue, and I think that that is chronic for me. And a lot of people would think that I'm a procrastinator. And I think that it's just that I procrastinate the decisions because it requires so much brain power to make that decision, to almost agonize over whether you're making the right decision. And that often keeps me from making a decision at all. So that's one of my weaknesses also. So then I watch trashy TV.
On the decision fatigue topic, I got married recently, and I got to the point towards the end of my getting up towards wedding that I was like, I refuse to make any decisions. I'm done making decisions. Everyone gets to make them for me. And gratefully, I have really awesome people around me that have really good taste and would make good decisions. And so I think it is important to know that sometimes you're allowed to have you're allowed to ask other people to make decisions for you. When it's little stuff that actually doesn't matter, but you're getting paralyzed over, like I totally do the same thing, Dr. Amy. So I really, really feel you on that. And I think that's a lot of mine comes out like procrastination because it's a perfectionism thing, right? Like I have to get the right thing. So when it matters and when it's time, it's really necessary to get something done, I ask other people that are trustworthy to help me make decisions.
You surround yourself
by
you surround yourself with great people for a reason, right?
Right. So I think I have never practiced that like that, except for my wedding. And it was very freeing because like my photographer would be like, well, do you want to do this style or do you want to do this style? Like 2 different formats of how we could do pictures or something. And I was like, I don't care. You decide. And also prepping all the people around me of like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is my struggle right now. And I need you guys to step up in this way. And man, did they do that. So that was really like for me. And it took a lot of the anxiety away because every time that like anxiety came up of, oh crap, there's another decision, I was just like, I don't have to take that. So I don't know how or when that necessarily works out in the rest of life, but that was really helpful, at least in my event that was happening. So.
And your emotional outcome became fulfilled at the end?
Yeah, I think.
And for how you wanted to feel at the conclusion.
I think it's also
you let go of all of the stuff in the middle. Yeah,
it's the realization that like those little things they don't matter. And it's a freedom, it's a letting go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a control person too. So the idea that other people are going to make decisions for me is sometimes scary, but like leaning back on this idea of like, no, these people are smart. They're not going to choose anything ridiculous. And if it's not exactly what I would have chosen, who cares? I didn't have to make the decision. So I think just like that letting go was really powerful.
Good for you.
Now I just have to figure out how to do it more in regular life.
Practice makes perfect.
So as a parent, I think it's really, for me, a lot of the decisions, I feel like I look years ahead, right? Like my son broke his leg in February, and I was like, oh my gosh, is he going to be able to play sports in high school? And so that anxiety travels, I think, through years, which are things I can't control. And so I like how he talked about staying in the moment and controlling the things that you can control, because even with like just staying in the today, okay, what are those things that I can control today, or what are those things that I can help today, or even when he's sick or things like that. But I think my automatic anxiety goes to, how is this going to affect his health years from now? And I'm responsible for that because I am his parent. and then I get into control freak mode, and all the sugar. So I really like what he said about just controlling the controllables and then leaning into the discomfort.
Yeah. I think that it's hard for us to be in that uncomfortable spot, and our natural reaction is to shy away from anything that's uncomfortable. And sometimes we actually have to allow ourselves to feel that to move past it.
I was thinking one of my big takeaways is, which in my head I call it kind of escapism instead of numbing behaviors, but I would really like to work on avoiding those numbing behaviors, which for me is TV or like reading a book and just escaping the situation and like retreating into my own mind. And that thought of just really feeling those uncomfortable feelings I'm trying to avoid is just, I guess, giving me the motivation to, and the knowledge also to like.
The worst part for me is I think I lie to myself about the TV or reading books, and that I deserve this. I need a chance to like unplug and unwind. And really what I'm doing is numbing, sedating. Yeah. It's a lie I tell myself.
Yes.
And my husband.
Of course. So, but I'm looking forward to working through some of those negative emotions that I'm trying to avoid.
Well, if anybody else wants to take the challenge of reading all of this guy's words, they're good words. They were just, they were a lot to chew. But if anybody else wants the challenge and wants to talk about it, reach out to me, because I'm planning on it. See if I can do some reprogramming in this brain of mine. All right. Does anybody have anything else that they wanted to share or to talk about today?
I was just thinking about, I'm currently in a personal growth therapy, like group therapy thing,
Yes.
which we're meeting later today, also via Zoom. And one of the things that I learned at like kind of getting into this is there's actually a lot of research behind how effective and efficient our brains can change, like literal neurological changes can happen, and our thinking patterns, that actually happens a lot better in a group setting than it does in individual therapy, which was kind of a shocker to me. I'm like, how could that be? You're talking about other people's stuff too. But there's something about just like connecting with other, like connecting heart to heart. And it's not about like offering advice to people, which is hard for me because I like to offer advice to people. Like you have to shut that part off and just connect, like, hey, I heard you say this thing and it hit my heart this way. And it's been really, really powerful for me. And I think that this is kind of a mini version of that, of like being able to bring out some vulnerability and say, hey, this is the stuff that I struggle with. And not that other people are going to be like, and hi, this is how we fix everything. Like, I think it's good to actually avoid that sometimes. And because people usually know, or they can find it if they want it, but they should be asking for it and not us just offering stuff. So that's I don't know. I just feel that like when you're trying to do that work of reprogramming and like retraining your brain, it actually works really well in a community setting. So I've become a huge fan. I've done 2 10-week sessions, and I'm getting ready to start another 10-week session because it's really, really good. So I don't know. I don't really know. I think that kind of connects, right?
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
It's hard to be vulnerable. It's uncomfortable initially.
Yeah. It gets easier. And I think that's something that's unique with that group is like, it feels like we kind of stay superficial. Each meeting, we stay a little bit superficial until someone kind of opens their own personal Pandora's box. And then it helps everyone else realize like, oh yeah, I can talk about my stuff too. And it's a safe place, and it is an encouraging place. And it's a place where you can get those negative thought patterns kind of checked with reality of like, oh man, I feel so silly talking about this. And then our facilitator will say, hey, why don't you check that with the group? Like, do you guys see me as silly right now? And then you actually find out that everyone's not seeing you as silly, but they're seeing you as brave and courageous for talking about something that they also struggle with or whatever. So yeah, it's just been really, really impactful.
We're made to be social creatures, so it only makes sense that we would heal ourselves by ingraining ourselves in a community, in a tribe.
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever had any of James Chestnut. He does the wellness certification for the ICA. And there are 3 things in life that you need to be happy. You need a tribe, you need a roof over your head, and you need food to eat. And it doesn't matter what your roof looks like. It doesn't matter what kind of food is on your table, but you have to have those 3 things in order to be truly happy in life. It's a fundamental requirement.
It's good.
I wanted to add something too that I found interesting in my own work that might be helpful in someone else's too. In a group setting that I've been in the past, our group leader has asked each of us, what emotion are you feeling? You didn't have to say, oh, my son or daughter did. Well, it's just like, okay, I'm feeling anxiety. Where in your body are you feeling it? And so that takes the beginning phase that you were talking about, the emotion, and then putting it into a physical place. And so we have a container for it. I'm feeling it right here in my gut. Okay, let's talk through that a little bit more. And then when you're on the other side of that anxiety, or you're getting on the other side of that emotion, that feeling, are you still feeling it at the same level? Is it different? Has it changed in its intensity, or is it somewhere else in your body now? And really getting you into yourself, getting your feet underneath you, knowing where you are in space and being very centered has helped tremendously in my life too. I just meant to share that. Another interesting piece is the importance of touch. And there's a reason why we hug. There's a reason why our kiddos want to be held. There's a reason why we want to be held. And as a human, we require touch to live. It's necessary. And how many of our older folks aren't being touched, and that's something that really is near and dear to my heart. But also to that point and to that extreme, if you don't touch a baby, they will die. They will die from neglect, from not being touched. They don't have enough neural stimulation to keep going. And so yes, get out there and hug your babies and hug your loved ones and hug people that you don't even know. No, I'm just kidding. But I can tell you for sure, Dr. Katie and I are all about hugs. And I'm assuming Dr. Amy as well. So anytime any of you need a hug, we're right there for you.
Absolutely. Hugs are free. All right. Well, I think we'll gather same place next month. I don't know who will be hosting that one, but that will be determined, and we will pick an article. So everybody joining, be watching that Facebook group, and we will announce another article to discuss next week. We're going to try to do these meetings every month, and we're going to do it on the last Thursday of every month. So we have a set time and a set place, and so we can get really intentional with our core group here. And like Dr. Nicole mentioned, everybody's welcome, whether you are a caregiver in your heart, whether you are a new mama, whether you have raised all of your children and you're raising your grandchildren now, if you are a dad or a grandfather, if you're just looking for community and acceptance and a safe place, then this is the place for you. So invite all of your friends and your family. We would love to have them.
Thanks, Dr. Amy.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you for coming. Thank you. And we will see you next month.
All right. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.